Join us now for Let's Just Talk with Catherine Raaker.
Hi, this is Catherine Raaker of Let's Just Talk TV, and we have as our guest today Eileen Darden, who is a reflexologist and a neurointegration specialist. The name of her practice is A Private Place, and she is our expert on Let's Just Talk, and we are so excited to have her back.
Hi, Catherine.
How are you today?
It's nice to be here.
Well, you know, we have heard so much in the news lately about parents being so worried about their children that have actually, unfortunately, been taking opioids and other drugs to get rid of the stress in their life.
Yes.
And a lot of these drugs are laced with other things that kill them.
Yes.
So what can parents do? Is there a solution for this with parents and their kids?
There is a solution. It's maybe taking a little longer than other drugs or synthetic medicines, but alternative.
Alternatives and
methods that have been used for thousands of years.
right.
Reflexology is one of them. Neurointegration is another modality that will allow you to go into the nervous system by using acupressure on the body to release old belief systems and bad patterning.
Right, and this is so effective, I think. You've done it for me, and I'm not on drugs.
Yes.
Just let everybody know that. But I may have hit a conflict or two to actually work on to be able to be stress-free.
Yes.
Or more stress-free, one or the other. And it really does relax me. It does change the way I think about things, and I don't get as stressed out as I used to get. Right?
Right, and that's because when we're dealing with your neurons, they are able to be repatterned.
Repatterned.
By allowing you to get rid of the toxic thinking.
Right.
And once a person is on drugs, their chemical imbalance with the brain tells them old information, brings up old information, which causes that person to fire on bad behavior, which i.e. is also toxic.
And you've
thoughts.
worked with children as well, haven't you?
Absolutely. Children that have ADHD, children that have Tourette's,
Right.
children that have epilepsy, and the work works.
Right. There's so many children today that have these disorders.
Yes.
That really need your help. I know that you travel to places besides your offices that you already have. What has been the longest that you've had to work with somebody?
I've worked with, the work that I do encompasses not only just the times that people come to see me, but it's ongoing because it serves as support once the person starts changing their mind and looking at life in a different way. They need that support up under them. That's one thing. The other thing is yes, I do travel, and the longest place, I just came back from Seattle, Washington.
Wow.
A place called Orcas Island, which is off the coast of Seattle, and I spent a week and a half with a family working with
for
their
them.
children that they were adopted children, and they were starting at the age of 15, starting to act out some of the behavior that a drug-addicted mom had given to them by birth.
And you know, I used to work for the Children's Home in Mount Holly, New Jersey, which is a homes for children that have been abused and neglected, and also a school right there. And we had an emergency care center in Trenton. And we would never know, only the psychologist and the psychiatrist and the doctors knew exactly what the history was of these children. But when you worked with them, you had more than one person with you.
Yes.
Because if they got violent or whatever, you would be left, to that situation. So some of them are so abused that, to give you an example, one of the children that I worked with, and we started an art program, I never understood why he couldn't create a product or, like an art project that wasn't black and white.
Right.
He never saw anything in color. And so one day, when working with him, he helped another child. He never would talk. And he used to listen. He apparently listened to me, because what he said is there's no mistakes in art. That's why pencils have erasers. To a young guy that had just tearing up his work, and he just looked at him very strangely, and that came out, and I'm going like, oh my goodness, I actually touched him. And I noticed that after that, he started doing things in color.
Right.
So it opened up a window maybe for him, right?
Right. So we're not born with these attitudes. We learn from 0 to 2 and 2 to 15. So any child that is having difficulties has learned how to cope emotionally.
Right.
And so the work that we do, the neurointegration work that's done, is designed to talk to the neurons so that they stop firing on the old belief systems and behavior.
So what would be an example, like a vivid example of the neurons in the body or in the brain? And there are constantly new ones coming on
That's
board
right.
too,
we
right?
have 450 billion
Wow.
neurons or nerve endings in our brain. So what we do is we learn about toxic thinking, and toxic thoughts literally take up mental real estate in the brain.
Really?
Once we're able to close off those toxic thoughts and start new information to new neurons, those thoughts will start changing. And it happens very quickly with children because they don't carry the same baggage that we have. They haven't learned how to do that yet. And so once we're able to allow new information to get through, it rapidly starts to change.
I have a friend that's writing a book on serial killers, and they're in the newspaper today. They're studying one of the serial killers' brains. They're doing a scan. And have you ever worked with anyone that was in prison?
I haven't worked with in prison, but I have worked with traumatic brain injury.
Okay.
And so that's some of our football players have traumatic brain injury.
Right.
And literally, the brain is like butter, and inside our skull, it's real rigidity. So if that brain hits a rigid part of the skull, it's going to be bruised or damaged. And
Right.
so it takes time to change. So the behavior is,
Right.
because then it sets up inflammation. So you asked me two questions, so I'm going to answer you. No, I haven't worked with serial killers, but I have worked with TBIs or traumatic brain injury. The difference is, again, calming the inflammation down. And even with serial killers, I believe that if they're caught early enough and they haven't had any post-traumatic stress on top of what they've gone through in life, they can be turned around. Just with this.
I just wondered about that, because there are so many people out there that have been abused as children.
Yes.
They turn out to be serial killers
Yes.
or hurting other people because they've been hurt.
That's right.
So maybe if you get them before that time period, you can, even as teenagers, because usually if they're, and I've noticed if people, the studies have shown people that actually hurt animals or their brothers or sisters, or they do whatever, that's what leads them to the next steps. Am I right?
That's correct. And again, a lot of it has to do with minerals, supplements in their body, lifestyle, eating habits, taking care of themselves, what trauma they've seen in their lives to
Right.
react, because that's what it's about. The toxicity that the neurons pick up are simply traumas that the brain
Right.
and body have not been able to articulate.
Can you share with us, and you don't have to tell us the name or the person, but has there been somebody that you have turned around and are so shocked, maybe shocked or not shocked, about how well they've done?
I have many stories.
Right. Could you
But
share one?
The most recent one is a young man who's 25 years old who has had 3 traumatic brain injuries in his life.
Wow.
With basketball, baseball, football. And we turned him around in a matter of 6 months.
And on that note, we need to take a short break, and we will continue with that story on Catherine Raaker's Let's Just Talk. Can you give your Facebook and your telephone number?
A private place. A private place. My phone number is 937-681-0184.
Once more.
A private place. 937-681-0184.
And we'll be right back after these important messages.
Move it! Yes, sir! Move left!
Many will hear the calling. Few will earn the title. United States Marine. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Can you help me with this? My new dad teaches me all kinds of stuff.
Sure.
He helps me with homework.
That would be 3.6795.
Thanks.
Yep.
He helps me with my decision making.
I wouldn't use this one. Ever.
And he's even teaching me how to drive.
And that's why cars have bumpers.
I'm learning so much.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of kids in foster care will take you just as you are.
No more, it's none of my business.
No more, he didn't mean it.
No more, not my problem.
No more, she was flirting with him.
No more, she was asking for it.
No more, boys will be boys.
No more, I'll say something next time.
No more bystanding.
No more ignorance.
No more excuses.
No more.
We're back on Catherine Raaker's Let's Just Talk, and I just want to mention to you one time, we're now on TV to go. 24 countries, Eileen, millions of viewers on TV to go, because guess what? Handheld devices and iPads people love to watch television on, right? Because they can take it anywhere they want. So I just had to give that little plug. But before the break, we were talking about your most amazing case recently. And he had had an injury.
He's had 3 injuries. And just recently, we brought him from having a TBI, which, if you don't know what that looks like, a lot of football players have TBIs. Their reaction is over the top. They have anger issues, suicidal thoughts due to the TBI. And this young boy was having some of that. Also.
Wow. And how long did it take to?
6 months for the first one. But recently he got hit in the head at a game with a tripod.
With a tripod?
Camera.
He was
in the audience, and it gave him another TBI. And we have brought him from being hysterical, overreacting, just really a physical mess, to now. And that happened in June, and it's now August.
Wow.
And he's getting back on his feet.
That's great. You know, there's so many contact sports where kids can get TBI that there's a new product out that is actually a special kind of gear for the head that actually helps to prevent TBI and concussions. And, you know, people don't realize they may have had a concussion years ago and don't know why they're having problems today, and it's because of that.
Well, and also what comes along with it, it's not just the injury. It's the fear afterwards.
Oh, yeah.
It's the fear of being in a crowd. It's the fear of it happening again. It's the fear of what's wrong with me. Am I worthless? Is something wrong with me? So my work goes in and helps to calm that down and to give a person back their ability to have trust that they're going to be okay in any situation.
Well, you know, it's really weird. If you've been hit in your car from behind, you tend to not put yourself in situations where somebody can do that to you. And I've noticed that it's happened to me. And I've noticed that when I see somebody that's that close, as soon as I can pull over and let them fly ahead, I will do that instead of getting stressed out about it.
That's right.
And so I think that there are things that are fears for you, right?
Yes.
That if you don't have somebody like you to help you, it just continues and gets worse. Am I right?
Right. So with the work of neurointegration, you're able to go into the nervous system and remove that fear, remove that anxiety, dial down the ability to think that something's going to happen or have a belief wrapped around it, to be able to take that away and replace it with positive affirmations,
Right.
positive information that says you're going to be okay. That's the bottom line.
Is there anyone that neurointegration won't work on?
There is absolutely no one. I've worked on 6-month-olds. I've worked on 2-year-olds. I've worked on children that have that are autistic, that don't like to be touched.
Right.
And a lot of that, I don't have to even touch the child. I can work through their mom, with the mom holding on to the child. And it literally changes their behavior because their neurons are affected by mom.
Have you worked with any child that's autistic and combative?
Yes, I have.
What do you do with that child, especially if they have a lot of medication that they're dealing with?
There is an integration that addresses physical damage.
Really?
And so, again, through mom's touch and mom holding on to the child, the information is relayed to the brain. That's how close we are as parents to our children.
Right.
You've heard the old saying that if your daughter is not feeling well and she lives in New Orleans,
right,
you know it.
Oh, I know it because I almost feel it, and then I get a phone call. And it's, and now I just listen. I used to always give advice, and she'd go, I'm just venting. And so I started listening to her when she said that to me, and we've come to an agreement, in a sense, that it's a lot easier to deal with each other. And I mean, I love those phone calls.
Yes.
And so if you're constantly doing this with them, they just kind of want to run away. They don't want to tell you stuff anymore.
Well, we're all connected, and we're more connected to our biological background and people than we realize.
Right. And I don't know if you've heard this phrase, you're just like your mother, or you're just like your sister, or that puts you in a situation that makes you feel, I don't know what the word is, maybe less than a person, because maybe that mother, sister, aunt, daughter, husband, whatever, brother, right, wasn't the nicest person in the world and was either combative or screamed a lot or did something that made you uncomfortable. So if you're being compared to that person, that's what hurts.
Again, that's a belief system wrapped around that. And so, is that true? So we have to find out, because our brain always tells us, sometimes it tells us things that aren't true based on experience.
Right.
So the experience changes, and when you can change the experience, guess what happens? There's room for that toxic thought not to be dealt with and another thought put in its place.
Now, when a client comes to you with people that don't understand what's going to happen, and there's that fear, right? It's totally different than I ever thought it was going to be. It's extremely calming, and it's like when you lie on a bed, you actually start letting yourself go. Correct?
That's
so it's
right.
like going to somebody's like a spa or something else, and you're letting yourself be free again.
Right.
Right. And so then what happens?
Well, what happens is we're using acupressure, which actually works. That's
Right.
a proven science, acupressure.
Right.
And we're also using cognitive talking and getting that out. In other words, if you go to a psychiatrist or a
Right.
psychologist, you're going to talk about your issue, which is cognitive.
Right.
Once you're able to get that out, if you're in a psychiatric situation, in an hour you're gone and that's it. But down underneath, there's been a rumble of that information coming forward. Where I finish it off is being able to do acupressure
Right.
and help you actually release that memory off of your nervous system.
Off of your nervous system.
And it's effective because you walk out of there with a complete product, with a complete sense
Right.
of, I really got rid of it.
And I sleep better.
Exactly.
And that's part of it. I mean, when we're so stressed, with things today that, I mean, it even happened this week. I was like, oh my gosh, this is where it's happening. I'm letting the stress build up. And then I thought to myself, you know what I should do? I should just talk to this person that's giving me the stress. And I listened to what she had to say, and I called her back and said, guess what? This is all going to be all right because I talked to this other person that you're dealing with, and it's going to be fine. And this person was so excited and so happy after I said that. I didn't know what she was going to, I didn't know, I was waiting for something else to react, and she didn't. She did it. It was happiness instead of whatever.
And
so it was a
that's the
fear.
goal, because once you've had work done yourself,
Right.
and once you've been able to have that work done, you're able to kind of pass it on with a positive affirmation for someone else or a positive response for someone else.
Right.
We become connected.
We become connected. And on that note, we need to connect with our sponsors. We'll be right back on Catherine Raaker's Let's Just Talk with Eileen Darden, a private place. Give your Facebook again.
It's a private place, 937-681-0184.
And we'll be right back. And don't forget to go to our website at letsjusttalktv.com. And also, don't forget to sign up the free app for TV to go. We'll be right back.
Calls me googly eyes.
You know you're beautiful, right? You know that?
Even you are beautiful. I got bullied for wearing glasses. Share if you're against bullying.
We put it out there, just took off. 3 million people have shared this post. Don't let bullies get you down. I stand with you. Our whole family's wearing glasses. I wear glasses and I'm proud.
I even have the army on my team.
All the kind comments brought my child joy. I don't feel thank you is enough.
Next.
Ballerina. Sometimes all it takes to be a dad is remembering how to be a kid again. Take time to be a dad today.
It's always been a part of me to fight for those who couldn't fight for themselves. whether on my block or around the world. My name is First Lieutenant King, and I move toward the sounds of those who are in need of help.
The few, the proud, the Marines.
We're back on Let's Just Talk TV, and we are with my really good friend and expert in neurointegration and also reflexology, Eileen Darden from A Private Place. And, you know, we were talking about kids that have all kinds of disorders.
Yes.
I just did a show on dyscalculia, and that is not understanding how to calculate math. And there's a new book out on it, and I would love to introduce you to the author of the book, because it's like dyslexia, except that you can't calculate. Can the neurons in the brain
be rewired?
Be rewired to that?
Yeah, yes, they can. And in a situation like that, what happens is that we all learn and are hardwired differently. So where neurointegration comes in is having an understanding of how that brain is wired, and then working on strengthening those areas of the brain that need to be strengthened.
Right.
By bringing down the stress level, because everyone says you can't do it.
That's right.
When maybe you just have a different way of approaching it.
Right.
Just like dyslexia.
Could be an emotional thing too, right?
Exactly. It could be emotions. The other piece of that is we forget that one of our greatest artists, Cher. Did you know Cher had dyslexia?
I didn't know that.
She had dyslexia.
Right.
But it wasn't. What happened was she learned how to cope, and she reads music. So what that tells me is that she has a musical hardwiring in her brain. She's musical intelligent, and so she took that dyslexia and changed it around.
Right.
And I think that a lot of times we label people with names. I'm not saying that that's not a disease, or that it's not in fact true. I'm just saying that when we rewire the brain, it starts to operate differently, and we can pick up and learn differently.
Right, and sometimes through certain things like art.
That's right.
And if she's an artist, that not just in music, maybe in art, it's a way of relaxing and being able to be creative in a different format, right?
Anytime you bring the body into homeostasis or balance,
right,
then you are able to change the wiring.
The wiring.
Yes.
And, you know, I think the wonderful thing that I found was I was always teased as a child, and I actually went to the arts for that reason, because I felt that there was a way through drama and creativity that it would make up for the way I was feeling about myself.
Yes.
And I can lose myself in the stress when I'm doing that.
Yes.
Just like cooking.
Yes.
I love it, you know.
Yes.
That's probably the reason why we have a cooking show, right?
That's right. That's right.
So you get to be creative that way.
So when we take everyone that is hardwired differently,
right,
and we give them a venue to take away feelings like worthlessness, helplessness, being a victim, for whatever reason, the body goes into balance.
Into balance.
And once the body goes into balance, or the brain goes into balance, because our brain is our computer, and once that goes into balance, then we can make those changes.
Okay. Have you ever run into a problem where you couldn't fix it?
I haven't yet, no, not yet.
That's good, because there are some people that fight you until they're healed, correct?
Well, I think the human spirit, oftentimes, we have free will. So when you asked me the question, have I run into anyone that I couldn't fix it? Only if they did not want to continue.
Right.
Sometimes when we change our belief systems and the way we operate,
Right.
it's uncomfortable, so we don't want to continue, so we want to stay right where we are. And then, not that the work hasn't worked at all, it has. It works so that the person starts to say, I don't think I like this change, and so they won't want to come back.
How long did it take you to become a neuro?
That's an interesting story because my teacher tells me I was unconscious.
Unconscious?
I was actually unconscious the first classes I took. So realistically, it took 1.5 years for me to learn the work itself.
And did you question yourself in the beginning?
I did, because I didn't realize how wonderful our brain is. I had to I could really see the physical changes. Now you see mostly with children, because they don't carry around the same old baggage and belief systems that we have, because they haven't experienced hard times in life, things that are catastrophes that we have experienced over traumas. A lot of children have, but a lot of children haven't. So their brain is a little like brand new. So they go through the work really quickly. A true story, I had an integration done with my nephew recently, and he had one integration, and he laid down on the table for me to work on him. When he got up, he said, Auntie Eileen, I feel so much better. 2 weeks later when he came, I said, Taiwan, do you need an integration? He said, no, I'm okay. And he was.
Wow.
Just that quick.
Well, kids, I think, you're right. They take things, they're so pure usually, that they take things and they can really compute in their brain, you know, this is what I need to do to make it better. You know, and maybe it's because they've been around computers and everything else so much that it's just normal for them, right? And there's so many things, there's so many children, though, are getting bullied. How do you work with a bully?
Well, you work with a bully by allowing the child that's being bullied, reminding him that he has power, reminding him that he doesn't have to take on the attitude of the bully, and by taking away the fear of, and giving him an understanding of why the bully is being bullied, why he is being bullied.
Right.
That it has nothing to do with him personally, but that the child that's bullying him or the person that's bullying him has the issue.
Right.
And that's what integration work does. It gives children, we have a sign that we use, and this is called power. We give that person back their personal power, which allows them to be present. It allows them to be present and to realize when you look at that person that they really have a problem and it's not yours.
That's right.
So by instilling and taking away belief systems that may make that child feel ill-equipped to deal with ugliness from that person, we give him back his power.
Now let me ask this question. When the child confronts that same bully again, what does he do?
When a child faces the bully again, he faces him with compassion, understanding, and love. Because that's what our brain understands. It doesn't understand all of the anger because it's not hardwired for that.
Right.
So we take out the anger and we put back in love and forgiveness. And all of a sudden that child gets it and says, okay, I'm going to be all right.
Right.
I can do this.
Right. I've had to deal with a lot of bullies in schools because of when I was teaching, and I was a substitute teacher, okay, which is even harder than being a regular teacher, I can tell you that. I dealt with bullies all the time, and they're the ones I turned around and I felt so proud about, because usually they'd been abused by other kids, or they had problems at home, they weren't getting the affection that they needed, they were being constantly berated at home or whatever. And we need to take a short break, and on that note, we'll be right back with Eileen Darden of A Private Place. Your website, or not website, but your Facebook?
My Facebook is A Private Place, My phone number is 937-681-0184.
And we'll be right back.
Morning, Gary. We are GetSchooled.com. You want a college education, don't you?
You know you do.
Yeah, but I don't know where to start. That's why we're here. We're free, handsome,
I think we're breathtaking.
and here to guide you through every step of the way, starting with attendance. Gary, financial aid forms. Biology homework, G. I got this. Is that Bran? Colleges love extracurricular activities.
Chess really isn't my thing.
I got this. Doesn't matter. Go ahead. Picking a college, man. You and us. We go together like tacos and Tuesday.
And I love tacos.
Fire and ice.
Those don't really go together.
Go to GetSchooled.com for more info.
Can you help me with this? My new dad teaches me all kinds of stuff.
Sure.
He helps me with homework.
That would be 3.6795.
Thanks.
Yep.
He helps me with my decision making.
I wouldn't use this one. Ever.
And he's even teaching me how to drive.
And that's why cars have bumpers.
I'm learning so much.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of kids in foster care will take you just as you are.
No more, it's none of my business.
No more, he didn't mean it.
No more, not my problem.
No more, she was flirting with him.
No more, she was asking for it.
No more boys will be boys.
No more, I'll say something next time.
No more bystanding.
No more ignorance.
No more excuses.
No more.
We're back on Let's Just Talk TV, and we have with us one of the best neurointegration specialists and reflexologists that I know. And I've lived all over the world, and Eileen Darden is the best.
Thank you,
with her
Catherine.
company, A Private Place. You know, when I first met you and I first went through neurointegration, you know, at first I thought, is this really hocus pocus or whatever? And all of a sudden, as I went through sessions, I started feeling the anger of being the oldest child, of being that person that I felt my parents, you know, made me kind of the ball that went back and forth.
Yeah.
I started realizing that I shouldn't be blaming myself at all. And I started feeling happier and happier every day.
Well, because I think the spirit of a man is touched with this work.
Right.
We always go away from our spirit because of the outside world that affects the inside world.
Right.
Of the way we look at things, our perceptions, our hurts, our disappointments. All of those affect us. And when you talk about the Bible, it's in the Bible about rewiring the brain, rewiring of the mind.
Right.
Joyce Myers talks about it. Joel Osteen talks about it. Everyone talks about it. But what does it mean? It means that our spirit has been damaged or hurt in some way that takes on the reality of imbalance.
Right.
That's all it is. And our brain, they've found in science now that our brain is hardwired only for love.
Well, that's a tremendous thing to know. Really. I mean, I think when you reach out and you touch someone with a hug, a smile's really powerful.
Yes.
And you really want to get that back as well. Am I right?
That's right.
It just means so much. You know, I think that we tend not to take time for ourselves. We're really bad at it, both of us, right?
That's right.
But I really just like to sit very quietly. And during the eclipse, it was really weird. Everything was so quiet. It's like God stopped everything just for that.
For that,
Right.
for that moment.
For that moment.
And so those are the things that are unseen. I saw a show recently.
Right.
It was an animal show actually this morning about, the lady was talking about how sharks find their prey.
Really?
Sharks find their prey through the electromagnetic waves that we put off. So they don't really know that you're a human being in their waters. They don't really know. That's why we hear about these shark attacks. They're going by you flashing around in water and also your electromagnetic waves. We all have that. So when that is punctured or damaged in any way, then we start having belief systems and acting out the tragedy of the situation.
Right.
So what I mean by that is that with neurointegration, going in and actually offloading anger,
Aren't
fear,
you almost born again, in a sense?
basically.
Your neurons are.
Your neurons
right?
are, because our neurons are always taking in information. They take in bad information, they
And
take in
good
good information. They don't know the difference.
They don't?
They don't know the difference. A neuron's pretty dumb.
Really?
But you get 100 billion, 400 billion of them start talking to each other, they create our reality. So when the reality is created that that person is bad, that person is bad, that person is bad, what do you start believing?
That you're bad.
Exactly.
Well, everybody's bad and there's no good.
But is that true?
No.
We have evidence that it's not true. We have evidence of people who take thousands of dollars and give it to charity.
Right.
We have evidence of people who save animals. So are people bad?
No.
There are bad people.
There are bad people, but there's a lot more good in the world than there is bad
That's
in the
correct.
world.
That's correct.
And we react to it.
That's
Is that
right.
correct?
That's right.
You know, I love this science because it is so rewarding to be able to touch someone and to be able to heal that person. I've seen so many people, especially older people, that all they want is a hug, or they want someone to call them to make sure they're all right. I know after running assisted living homes, I would get hugs all the time. And I had it was amazing how they looked at death. They looked at death differently than we do. Like they knew they were going to go to their maker and that person was going to be okay. Their friend would be okay.
Yes.
You know, and our friend just lost her dad today. He was riding on his stallion to heaven. I love the way she did that. You know, they looked at it in a positive way because, you know, once somebody starts physically dying, you hear the death rattle, you hear all these different things. And you want to surround that person with joy to go to heaven or to be there. And I'll never forget the picture of my mom when she passed away in January. My brothers and I put our hands on her hand. And that picture was so important to all of us because we were there when she went to heaven.
Yeah. And that's it. I mean, I think if we all understand that our spirit is what we leave behind, the body goes. It's going to go. It gets old. It can't hold all of that energy. I call all of that energy.
Yeah.
So it's important that we learn to work with that energy while we're here.
Right.
In works like reflexology and neurointegration, we're able to touch the human spirit at a different level.
Right.
To be able to bring that person up to a different vibrational level. I know that sounds kind of hokey pokey, but at the end of the day,
you really do though.
Vibration is what counts and how you vibrate in the world.
Right.
You know, and we do it all the time. We do it through music, we do it through talking to each other, touching each other.
Right.
Those are all vibrations that we give each other. And so if we can change that by just doing a simple work of pressing pressure points on your body and giving you affirmations and supporting you in that transition of making your spirit whole, that's what it's about.
And that's really important for everybody to have that, actually. And it's amazing the results that you get afterwards, because maybe it would have been a confrontational feeling about somebody, but then all of a sudden you meet that person, and I've been working on this, I can tell you. And now I know how to react, and it's a positive reaction. And that's strange for me sometimes, because I've always waited for that person to do just what it always was. And now that I'm doing something totally different with it, I get a total different reaction. And I feel like, pat yourself on the back, girl, because you've done it, because you've done your homework.
The amazing thing is it works on all ages.
That's right.
It's not just young people, middle-aged people. It works on everybody, because we're working again on the human spirit.
And you know, age doesn't really matter in life. I mean, I joke around how old I am all the time, because I want people to realize that age is just in your mind. I'm a little girl inside, actually. And that's the way I act a lot of times. And people were really shocked when they find out that I'm going to be 73.
It's amazing.
It's amazing, because I don't think of it as age. I think of it as just a number.
Yes.
And it amazed me that my family members lived as long as they did, because they didn't want to go.
Yeah.
That's probably part of it, right?
Right.
So what are your suggestions? Let's talk about some tips after the break on what we can do to, besides coming to you, what we can do once we see you to keep this going.
Okay.
Okay? So your website or your Facebook is what?
A Private Place. My phone number is 937-681-0184.
And don't forget to go to letsjusttalk.com to see our wonderful website and to see our programs as well as going on TV to go. We'll be right back after these very important messages.
Calls me googly eyes.
You know you're beautiful, right? You know that?
Even you are beautiful. I got bullied for wearing glasses. Share if you're against bullying.
We put it out there, just took off. 3 million people have shared this post. Don't let bullies get you down. I stand with you. Our whole family's wearing glasses. I wear glasses and I'm proud.
I even have the army on my team.
All the kind comments brought my child joy. I don't feel thank you is enough.
Thanks.
We're back on Let's Just Talk with Eileen Darden, the actual wonderful reflexologist and neurointegration specialist, and with a private price.
Yes.
I love the name of your company, because when you think about it, the brain is a private place.
It is.
Right?
Absolutely.
Now, when you come into the office, you don't go on to the actual bed or whatever first. What do you do with people?
So when a person comes to see me and they have an issue, they come in and talk to me about the issue. We talk about their background. We talk about their life. We talk about those things that have caused them to feel anxiety or nervousness. We talk about their whole life, because a lot of things are buried underneath. And once we do that, once we find out where the issue started,
right?
Because everything we learn from 0 to 2 and 2 to 15. So once we find out when it started, then we can actually go in. I have them lie down on the table. I give them some hand signals or hand patterning, which talk to the brain, just like the deaf talk. For communication to the brain, I'll give them 3 hand patterns that we'll be using. I use kinesiology to ask the body what's going on. So we start out by doing a signal that says, what's going on from the outside world, what's going on the inside world.
Right.
Those are the first two pressure points we press.
Right.
And then once we do that, we find out which hand pattern is going to strengthen that neuron. The first integration that's done is called a 21 point. We press 21 points in the body to strengthen those neurons to help the process start.
Right, because one thing that you do is you take the hand in a certain way and you say, I want you to push.
That's right. That's
To see the strength in that?
Well, that's called kinesiology, and that gives us a signal because our body knows what it needs and what it wants. And when we do that pulling, we're able to find out which of those neurons are weak so that we can strengthen it with a hand pattern.
Right.
We do that by lying you on the table to actually find out, because you can tell me a lot just by talking to me, but your defenses are up. But your body always knows the truth.
Right.
So whatever you're telling me, it will show up. And my pressing those pressure points, your body will tell me if it's weak or strong, and then I can strengthen it.
Right. And that's really important to know what the body is doing at the time. I mean, I was short on magnesium.
Yes.
And if I don't have magnesium every day, I can tell immediately because I start having cramping in my legs, things start happening that I can't control, right? So I was lacking in it. And I have to tell you what I received in the mail the other day. I got a little fish. And it's a new product that's a fish that you put in water, and it puts iron. It's an iron fish that you put in water, get the minerals out of it, right, and then cook whatever you're going to make so that you're getting that iron, those minerals back into your body.
Because we are since microwave came in style, we are not getting the minerals that we need. And a lot of our reaction, a lot of our anxiousness, a lot of our depression that our kids are suffering, it's because they're not getting the supplements that they need back into their body.
Right, so this little fish might work real well.
Exactly.
And you don't put it in the microwave, that's definitely.
Can you remember when we cooked with cast iron skillets?
Oh yeah, I do still.
And all of a sudden they just went away?
No, I have them.
But it's hard to find them. I mean, you really have to go on a hunt sometimes to find it. I mean,
Bed Bath & Beyond has them, and other things have them. I mean, they've come back in style, just like gas, cooking has come back in style. I tend to want to do things organically, for the simple reason it's better for your body. I've learned a lot from you, but we need the minerals. So I love this fish idea. I think this is cute. I think that there's a lot of women that lack iron in their system, or you can have too much iron.
And younger women, they lose it monthly.
That's right.
So, and nobody's ever thought, everybody thinks. So when you look at all of those things that you're lacking, the body's lacking, then to be able to, people start having the reactions that they would not normally have.
Right, or allergies.
Or allergies, or even addictions.
Right.
The addictions come about because the anxiety and the depression that the person's suffering.
And stress. And we don't have the stresses today. I think we've got so many mobile devices and so many things that are around us that I didn't grow up with those, I mean, and ever since they appeared, I remember being in Singapore and living there and watching people walk around with their phones and all this stuff. And then all of a sudden, we started doing the same thing, that we can't put those mobile devices down. And they actually, it's like having a cigarette.
Yeah.
And when you compare it, it's like, if I don't have that phone, it's like a cigarette. A cigarette was addictive. Phones have become addictive. Even our tablets have become addictive. We think that we have to answer every phone call that comes in on our cell phones. Or we have to text all the time. Or we forget when we're in a car, this is the scariest part, that we're driving and that we shouldn't be texting or putting makeup on or whatever. And I go like, oh my gosh, what if they lost control of that car and they crashed into me, then what?
Which happens a lot.
What happens a lot.
So our younger millennials, the young children that are growing up today, have no concept of what it's like not to do that. So the stress on them from the electromagnetic phones and tablets, TVs even. I mean, I grew up with this TV this size. Now they got 60-inch TVs. The client that I told you had the TBI, he went out and bought a 60-inch TV in a little bitty apartment. So that's a lot of energy being drawn from you in the first place.
That's
because
true.
it takes a lot for your brain to take in all of that information. Just going to the movie theater now, did you know that movie theaters have the sound up so loud that people are becoming deaf?
I know that well.
I mean, so those are the things that we're facing in our world of being able to relieve people of stress. And so that's what this work does, is to be able to get you back to what? Your spirit.
What are we've only got a few minutes left. What would you say to somebody that's dealing with all these stresses? What do you need to do?
The first thing to do is to take the time out for yourself to look for other arenas for healing. Reflexology, neurointegration, acupressure, acupuncture. Those are ancient things that'll bring your body back into balance.
Right, and that's really important. Take time to take care of yourself.
Right.
Because if you're good, then the people around you will be better.
I always say,
right?
When Mama's happy, everybody's happy. When Papa's happy, everybody's happy.
So why not do that? I want to thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Catherine.
It's always a pleasure and an experience.
That's right.
Being around you.
Thank you.
You're such a calming force that you make me feel happy.
Thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome. And where can people find you?
A private place. Phone number is 937-681-0184. I have an office in Blue Ash at 8241 Cornell Road. That would be Family Tree Chiropractic. I also have an office in Centerville at 7740 Washington Village Drive.
But you also
Dayton, Ohio.
travel.
And I also travel.
So if you have a problem, just call her and you'll get the solution. And thank you for joining us today on Catherine Raaker's Let's Just Talk TV. And we'll see you next time. Have a wonderful day.